coming in, but can Pristini win the 2? No. He does. That's 3 straight.
He's trying to get out there. He challenged and he wins it.
First kick of progress on the way. That's the main 7 in a row.
Looking to find a few more, but Gunless absolutely rips his way through the 3 of them. 249, Seattle won!
Seattle squad is going to be really dangerous.
Seattle's inside. 249, Seattle.
Make some noise for the Seattle Surge.
Especially for the Green Wall fans, Optic have to 3-0 or at least 3-1 phase to make winners bracket. This is because we would have a 3-way tie and that scoreline will be the tiebreaker to hop over the Thieves. So there is so much going on and a little bit more later on that we'll talk about as well with Group A. But gents, looking at this and looking at the matchup we have, what will decide who wins Optic and FaZe, Stud?
For me, this is going to come down to hard points, man. On one side, you got FaZe, who have just been, throughout Stage 3, just trying to expand their map pool. So you see them playing a lot more hard points that they don't usually play, which is a map like Apocalypse. But they've been doing so far so good. On the opposite side, you have Optic, who in their last 2 series, they've lost both hard points in both of those. And this is just something that we don't expect out of Optic when they have 4 unbelievably talented caliber players, and the fact that they keep on continuously making these little mistakes in hardpoint, specifically when they play that Moscow, they got a bless spawn for P2, and they let New York just break through the front side by getting every single kill. Those are those little mistakes that Optic needs to clean if they want to have a chance.
Well said. For me, it's going to come down to how Optic plays under pressure. Not only do they have to win, they have to win 3-0 or 3-1 against Atlanta FaZe, who has not lost a best-of-5 series outside of a Game 5. So that's a tall task in and of itself. And the way Optic has been playing in the last few series, the Respawn has been downright terrible. I mean, watching them in their last series versus the New York Subliners, on this map alone, I've seen Dashy make a mistake, Formal and Envoy. Envoy wasn't playing his life in multiple rotations. Formal wasn't setting up in proper positions. And there was a key mistake that Dashy made where he challenged a one-on-one gunfight on rotation to Temple, left Scump alone, and then they ended up getting steamrolled. So this team, the teamwork has to be on point, and the respawns have to be clean. During Stage 1, the respawn was great. It was fine. The teamwork was there, so we know they're capable of it. But these little mistakes, like Study said, keep biting them in the butt.
100%, and I think it's, happening to them over and over again. It's a tall order with FaZe today, but, I'm pretty confident that this team can bounce back. I think they got it somewhere deep inside. They just need to really kind of release that out, and hopefully we see it today. But gents, we have a lot to talk about, including our standings, because there's a lot of things to note here. So let's take a quick look at our Stage 3 group standings. Now, looking at Group A, Toronto Ultra, pretty clean. Look at that, 5-0 record, gorgeous stuff. Florida Mutineers also doing very well for themselves. And we've got a couple of other highlights here. LAG, 1-4, Paris Legion, 1-4. Unfortunately, just not going to happen in terms of the winner bracket for them. That dream is out of it. And then Group Bravo as well, Subliners 4-1, looking pretty good. But then FaZe, hoping to get that 4-1 record today against Optic Chicago as well. We got a lot happening here, a lot of tiebreakers potentially on the line, but like they're right bang in the middle, the ones that aren't highlighted, Group Alpha, is Rocket and Empire. Now this is a deciding match to decide who is going to be going up into that winners bracket. Only one will be going up there. And I want to know, really, how are Empire today, based on how they've been performing, going to pull off this upset today, Stud? What do you think?
The way that Empire pulled off this upset today is it has to be on closing out those hard points. Throughout watching them, ever since they made this roster change, they build such a lead in those hard points nice and early. They go up by at least 100 to 150 points, but then they let their opponents just slowly get back into the game. And this is just something for the Dallas Empire where that momentum, that confidence can really start to get struck. When you are dominating a team like you see in this clip, they're up 100 points. I'm pretty sure right now, when this game ended, it was 250 to like 230, and that's just something that Dallas Empire can just not allow to happen. They need to fix those little mistakes, because going up against a Minnesota Rocker team who are just improving as they continue to go on, it's going to be a difficult task. They need to close out in those final moments.
Agreed. With Dallas Empire, this is the defending world champions. They drop Hook, they bring in Fellow, they switch Illy over to an SMG. It's been a struggle for them to find their fitting. You lose your dynamic sub duo, Shotzi and Hook, and now you're trying to figure it out. The teamwork isn't there. That's the big thing for me. Every single player in this team team is underperforming. Look how crazy this stat is right here. Not a single player on Empire throughout their tenure with Fellow is above a 1.0 in Stage 3. That's absolutely wild. And that's why they're getting come back on in these games. And Hardpoint, it's getting frantic. It's pandemonium towards the latter half of these games, and they can't capitalize on the kills that they're getting. In this control, there was a few moments where they had an opportunity. Illy in particular got a major 4-piece in top of the plane, and they still weren't able to garner any control of the map, get control of A. It's just little mistakes that they're making, and they're not playing together. So today it needs to be better and more on point against Minnesota Rocker.
100%, and you can't hide from the stats. I mean, that KD is just quite shocking. When you think of Dallas Empire, I just don't think you think of a team that is completely under a 1.0 KD. It's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
But look, they have time to try and get that and elevate that a little bit more as they head into Stage 4. Let's see how they do in the major. Let's see how they do today, folks. And talking about today, let's have a look at our US Army schedule to see what is coming your way. So first up, we do have Surge versus the Royal Ravens, both really fighting for a little leg up into next week. And then a duel of the powerhouses, Atlanta versus Chicago. FaZe looking to make it a 4-1 finish, and Chicago need confirmation that they are set for the major. And finally, our Game Fuel marquee match, Empire versus Rocker, both at 2-2, and only one is going to walk away with the edge. Now, we have some exciting things for you guys to listen to, so hopefully you sat back and relaxed because you've got to listen up here. This battle of CDL's Titans, Optic versus FaZe, will be your T-Mobile 5G weekly drop. And boy, do we have something special on deck to honor our military service members and veterans. T-Mobile is committed to serve those who serve, and so they're teaming up with the Call of Duty Endowment Fund to help military veterans find high-quality careers. For every text of T-Mo Salute to 313131, T-Mobile will donate $5 to support our veterans up to $50,000. In addition, a few lucky entries will get the chance to be paired with one of this year's All-Stars during the upcoming T-Mobile All-Star Weekend. And as your pro advances through the skills tournament, so do the prizes for you. So, to recap, by texting T-Mo Salute to 313131, T-Mo will donate $5 to help support our veterans and their families, plus the chance to get paired with a pro during All-Star Weekend. Man, what a drop. So, get texting, folks, right now so we can continue to serve those who serve us. So, the final day of the Dallas home series gets underway in moments. But before it does, Hook has some special words on this momentous day.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Just want to say thank you for everything. And thank you for being the best, most beautiful mother I could ever ask for. And shout out to all the moms out there.
The Call of Duty League is presented by T-Mobile, now America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Scuff, the official controller of the Call of Duty League. The Call of Duty League is presented by USAA Insurance, auto, renters, and home insurance that's made to help the military community protect what they've worked hard for.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the final day of the Dallas home series. The final day as we prepare, we cement the seeding coming into the Stage 3 majors. We are starting off today with the London Royal Ravens taking on the Seattle Surge, as we've got one more lovely day to take a look at that fantastic backdrop. I'm somewhere in one of those buildings, possibly. Which one? Who really knows? Stud, I gotta ask you, my friend, big game coming up, just in terms of seeding. What's up with that 5th through 6th seed, what that kind of means for both of our teams. How you feeling coming into this match?
I'm feeling good, man. You know, we have the Ravens on one side. Both of these teams actually played Atlanta FaZe in their last matchup, but the Ravens, they played them a week ago. So it's been a long time we've seen the Ravens play, but on the opposite side, Seattle Surge just making that roster change for Decimate. They had a tough matchup versus Atlanta FaZe, and they're looking to bounce back, and this is a good matchup for them here.
It definitely is, man. I know there's a lot of people out there who were kind of excited despite the loss that Surge had versus the Atlanta FaZe, just to be specific. Of course, this will be Decimate's second series in the lineup as well. We've talked enough about the team. Let's go ahead and meet the squad, your Seattle Surge. Fire coming in, but can Porcini win this too? No. He does. That's 3 straight.
He's trying to get out of there. He challenged and he wins it.
First tick of progress on the way. Decimate 7 in a row.
Looking to find a few more, but Gunless absolutely rips his way through the 3 of them.
249, Seattle won!
And there's a look at your Seattle Surge. I mean, a team that's kind of struggled so far throughout Stage 3. That a lot of people were kind of hyped about them because they had started to improve in Stage 2. Stage 3 kind of looked like it could be that opening for them. However, it wasn't. Right now, they bring in Decimate. They had that series the other day versus the Atlanta FaZe. Specifically on topic with that match, just because that's really the only thing we have to go off of in terms of Decimate being the lineup. What'd you kind of take from that series, both positives and negatives for Seattle?
Well, the positives that I took was that they went out and they were able to slay with the best, especially in that first hard point. They were able to take that, but then they lose the S&D. That's why I expected them, you know, to show some struggles. They're a new roster change. You have to make new plays on the fly. But I really need to see this team in just improving control. It's their worst game mode even before they made this roster change, and they ended up losing again to Atlanta FaZe on that Garrison. They need to be able to improve that game mode if they want to stand a chance versus some of these big dogs in the league.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, we talked about this series, how important it is, how big of a deal in reference to that Stage 3 major, how big it is just in terms of points. And the one team who could definitely use some points right now is the team that currently sits in the 12th seed in terms of the London Royal Ravens. So, like we said, man, expecting this team to maybe come out with the fire today. It's a big game for both of our teams. We've met Seattle. Now it's time to meet the team on the other side. Put your hands together for the London Royal Ravens. And there is your London Royal Ravens, a team that is no stranger to some roster moves as they've brought in Zaptius for Stage 3, and kind of on the same sheet of music study as kind of a similar moment for the Seattle Surge. Just Stage 3 not been their greatest, but for London, they have gone to back-to-back Game 5s. One of those was a W versus New York. The other one was a close loss to Atlanta. I mean, what's kind of your thoughts right now on this London team, despite what has been, not a great record, but overall, they've taken some teams the distance?
Well, I like this London team overall because, like you said, their last 2 series, they went to a Game 5 with some great teams, New York and Atlanta. And then versus New York, they were able to win the Search and Destroys and take away that control. And then versus Atlanta, they dropped that last Search and Destroy, but they were still able to keep themselves alive in those respawn game modes. And this is something that I really expect from London. And we're going to hop right into our game few keys to victory for London. The SMG firepower needs to be on point today. They cannot be lacking. So far throughout Stage 3, Zed is at a .83 and and Zaptius is at a 0.84. When that submachine gun duo is on point, they can be one hell of a duo, but as of right now, these guys have not figured it out between each other, and hardpoint has really been lacking for this team. They need to be better. So far throughout stage 3, they are 2-6, and this is a really important game mode where we talk about those submachine guns needing to be able to slay. They make that roster change for Dylan and Zaptius, and Dylan was their main killer before he was on this roster, and now with Zaptius on this team, he hasn't been able to pick up kills, so that's where their respawn is really hurting. Specifically, their hardpoint, they need to improve there.
Yeah, man, I think you laid it out perfectly. As now let's go and advance now to our game field keys to victory for the Seattle Surge. Continue to learn from mistakes in practice in series versus phase. We talked about they have 3 days of practice coming into that match versus Atlanta. Now some more time. Pristini is the playmaker. He needs to be better today, as that search and destroy KD has not looked so good so far in stage 3. Need a more consistent effort from the team in respawns. Currently, all of them are below a 1, and they went -28 in slang versus Atlanta. And finally, the story that just continues to brew for the Seattle Surge, and maybe it could be different with Decimate, right? But the control, it sticks out, man. Not only has that record just been, you know, kind of a bad one all season long, but they're 0-4 so far on the stage. Well said.
Yeah, they are, man. It's just not good if you're a Surge. One game mode where you're consistently losing. If you're starting off 1-0 in the series, you lose that Search and Destroy, you're basically going to put yourself down 2-1 because you can't win that map 3. And this is where Decimate, when you bring this guy to the roster, for a player like Looney who was sitting dead last when it came to that KD, we all love Dan. He's a phenomenal player, but he just wasn't able to pick up those kills. So with Decimate on this roster, he can be that second playmaker, especially with that submachine gun to pick up a lot of those kills. We saw it a little bit versus Atlanta FaZe on that Garrison, but in a match like this versus London, looking at these maps in mode, I really enjoy these maps right now for the Surge.
Well, tell me, why is that? I mean, what, we got Moscow Hardpoint to start, Express, Search and Destroy, Gary Control, Apocalypse Hardpoint, but both those teams I think have yet to actually be beat on that map in particular, and Moscow S&E. Nice little Moscow sandwich. What map in particular, things like that stick off the page for you, Stud? Why do you think Seattle favored here?
Well, it's just the first 3 maps. Like London, they're not too bad at Moscow. The only thing recently with these guys is that P2 used to be that money hill for them, and then recently in their 2 previous matchups, they have lost this map because they cannot get any time off of P2. So I'm going to put that favor in towards the Surge. And then on map number 2, Express, London, who are 1-3. I just remember back in the day when New York came back 5-1 on them, and I know the way that Surge can play on that map, being aggressive towards that B site. So the first 3 maps, I really enjoy for the Surge's favor, but if London could come out and surprise, we definitely can push this series to a long distance.
I want to ask you quickly, as we get ready to load in here for map 1 on Moscow Hardpoint, you think there's an underdog in this series? Like, do you think there's one team that's kind of like maybe the lacquer, or is it kind of even across the board?
No, I think it's definitely even. Like, both of these guys, they're just trying to fight for a better seed, 5th or 6th, to see if they have a little better of a chance at that major 3. But as of right now, both of these teams are just trying to put in practice, just trying to perfect their gameplay, because we're getting closer towards the end of the year, and just trying to find the right formula. Multiple roster changes coming in on one side, one roster change finally coming in for the Surge, but like I said, man, they're just trying to get the perfect formula at the right time to close out the year strong.
I'm excited, right? I think this is going to be a good tester kind of coming into, again, that stage 3 major we talked about, obviously, for Seattle. You're just trying to learn, right? You're just trying to kind of figure out exactly where you struggle at, what kind of things are you starting to improve on, as really focus, obviously, is at P1. A major fight just happened, as really the entire player base just happened to get wiped off of the screen. It was a major gunfight win, I want to say, from Shawnee versus Pristini, who was trying to go for the early pinch. The 2, maybe 3 start to line up from Paul, as that will be 4 straight in the feed. 5 seconds left on P1, and you see where Seattle are spawning right now, Stud, over in Narnia.
Yeah, and this is the perfect case scenario right now for the Ravens. So what we were talking about before the game started, the P2, they weren't able to get any time on it the last 2 times they played, but this time, getting 4 dead, they're going to have that early map control, and now they're building such a lead off this beginning of this hard point. You're going to force all of Seattle to try to hit around the street side. So Paul X is currently on a 3 spree, so is Zed. But with this time ticking, Seattle, they have to try to put some pressure on this quick, because it's looking like the way that London are playing this, it's going to be another 3 down. They should be able to get a full 60 off of this P2.
Now, we talk about this hardpoint in particular, as again, the Ravens just off to the races, as they should be, what, a good 75, 80 points after this hill comes to a close. Both these teams have really struggled on Moscow HP. I think they're both 0-3 so far in stage 3. And in fact, they've also lost to the exact same teams. They've all lost to New York, they've all lost to Chicago and Atlanta. So we talk about that even kind of skill card across the board. It remains the same, as there is a big fight now happening over at P3. Paul continues on the spree, now at 5 in a row. as London very well could be in a spot to maybe pin both of these back to back, and that would just be horrific if you're the Surge at this point, stud. We're talking about 3 hills straight. Seattle yet to get a point on the board. Zappia's causing problems through the back, as that's going to be 2 for him. There's the point.
Yeah, and the Ravens, they're playing perfect hard point right now. They're playing perfect hard point. They force Seattle to early rotate towards that P3. They all flood through the front side. Unfortunately, they don't get any streaks, but they once again flip those spawns. And now they're forcing Seattle to try to fight from the front side. That's going to be another 3 dead. Everybody's spawning out towards the front with about 25 seconds left. You see what London is doing. They're starting to think about that rotation. So Zeddy's going to be nice and early towards this gold window, able to pick up another kill. It's going to put him at 6 and 2 on the map. But so far right now, the Ravens are really stepping up in this first hard point.
Oh my goodness! I mean, this is a this is a beating to start, my friend. Like we said, they've dominated pretty much every rotation. And right now, if you're Seattle, I mean, you have to try to pick it up now toward Boulevard before this game even starts to get more out of hand, as they have nearly reached 20 points. But again, right now, given the timing, given the way this game has gone, you're looking at a few players maybe try and provide somewhat of a spark. Again, the game is still yet far from over. So now we'll go and listen in with our Astro listening on the Seattle Surge.
Bus here.
There's 3 up. There's like 2 or 3 buses. 2 or 3 buses.
Yeah, life here. Go on. Let's get up. I'm in mini.
Inside
bus. Inside bus.
Dark pillar and inside bus. Dark
pillar inside bus and dark.
In
gold. Yeah, I'm trying to bring bus right now.
One's bus. One is front bus. Shawnee on time. He's already in window. Fall window dead. You play for a fish.
I don't see the guy dark. He's beyond car. He's inside mini right now.
Here.
I'm playing new guys. I should have a kill on him.
I hit him with an nade.
He's one bullet in mini right now. Final 3 pusher. Good job 1.
Trying to hold new. I'm just sitting in a corner.
I'm holding 3 push up right now.
It could go as
Shawnee, 1 bullet street. 1 bullet street. That's what I said. Someone gonna hit street most likely. He'd probably push up street.
He had been on.
Look at gold. Just play from this side. I'm trying to look our pinch.
I have no idea where they're coming from. I spawned out here.
2 half wall. Yep.
Shawnee's
one shot, right side corner half wall. One shot, corner half wall weak. All weak. Behind me, gold. Half wall,
Half wall, got me. On gold. He's pushing up corner.
I spawn close. You said left?
We hit left and benches. Don't sit the guy left.
I just want to best Shawnee. Dead.
I got the guy close right. He's Shawnee close. He's just Shawnee close right. No, he's mid time.
Get child here. We can
we should.
I'm creaming half
wall. Full flash from half wall.
Creaming half wall.
I think I close.
Half wall, Shawnee hitting it.
One got me statue. One got me statue, guys.
Alright, Shawnee's half wall.
One is statue and half wall.
Shawnee, one shot half wall.
Here. Some benches here. One could be close right here.
I'm gonna wrap straight. We gotta play for this guy.
Oh shit. I don't see the guy close left. Guy close up. Hey, Shawnee push up right. He's not weak. He went back to their set time right now.
I killed the guy one shot. Shawnee right to time. He's like lay down, close go.
Try to go run street here.
Shawnee ran the globe.
We can half
wall. We gotta this guy globe together. We
got half wall peeking here.
Well, Stud, I was planning on asking you, like, given the scoreline, how do you feel about Seattle's comms? But I feel like I kind of know the answer to that now.
Yeah, just listening to those comms out of the Surge right there, they definitely sound a little frustrated. You even saw when they were rotating towards that P1. Octane said he doesn't even know where they're coming from. There's no structure right now on the hard point right now for the Surge, and that's why they're losing every single rotation. London is just on point. 167 to 44. This is something we weren't expecting in its very first map. London are just doing such a great job of the rotations. The money hills they are really taking advantage of. This is so far going to be the second time they were able to get a full 60 on his P2. But as I say that, Decimate's able to break in and take down 2. And that junk time is eventually going to go in favor of the Surge. The only thing now, Ravens are going to be rotated towards that P3. Last time, they were able to get at least 30 seconds off of this. Surge need to start playing some perfect hard point from this point on.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, if you're Seattle in that particular point in the game where there's a good 25 seconds left on the clock, you have to kind of go for the break. This is just a situation that you get put in as Pristini gets stuck toward the boulevard. Now, really, at this point, as we said, Seattle have just kind of put themselves in such an awkward position where they really have to challenge for everything. They have to be thinking about the spawns. They have to basically win fights. They have to win unfavorable positions. And so far, the slang has just really not been there. Again, 198 to 61. London, they can't win it here, but boy, can they get so close to that 250 scoreline. As again, we listened in with the comms for a moment and started again. It sounded dead. Like you said, there were players who were basically saying, I don't know where they're coming from. It kind of sounded like, when you're in league play and like only a few players have mics and you're just like, guys, can we try to pick up the comms, please? We need something. Just as I say that, Seattle, they are able to break it with 10 seconds left.
Yeah, so with those 10 seconds, it's going to give him at least a little bit extra time on the clock, so the score isn't that bad. But the only thing is, you see where London is already set up. They don't have any bank control, so this can be the opening. Paul Lex is able to take down one. He's going to be able to spot Gunless, but that's going to get traded. So eventually this pinch is going to come in. You're forcing all of Seattle to spawn out towards P2. Last player on the point is going to be Gunless. Once he drops, full control is going to be in favor of the Ravens. Now they're only 30 seconds away from closing out this map number 1.
Close indeed for Sydney. We're just trying to get something going as Paul really runs right past the player. He'll take down Gunless for good measure. Has a nice setup, but Decimate is able to read him. And London really just struggling to try to get closer to that 250 mark. They've kind of been around 220 for a while now. OCTANE just really looks for the pressure. He loses teammates toward the front side. Decimate, meanwhile, is on the flank, but because OCTANE drops from the front, it just allows for that pinch to not really be a possible one. Really, from this perspective, 7 seconds left. Decimate, he can try to go for the contest. They've already at least got themselves one extra hard point to possibly hold on to this game for, but it's just not looking good at this point. It's kind of hard to cast when you got a team just this out ahead as the Ravens are.
Yeah, this is a smoke show. This is an absolute slaughter to start the day off. Ravens, they're going to be nice and early set up, and just like that, kills are going back and forth between both teams. Seattle trying to stay alive. Like I said, they need to play perfect hard point, 246 to 86. London, they're just trying to not give up those P2 spawns. I really like the way that London are playing this. It's going to be 3 down, and that's going to be the opportunity. Here comes the flood in. Decimate eventually should get traded, and London should be able to close it out here.
Well, they're hanging on.
Or not.
Reset. Okay, Paul. All right, he has something else to say. Nice shots covered in from Paul as they'll maintain the streak. Again, I'm not sure how important getting 7 kills in a row really is at this point in the game, but 3 seconds left on the clock, or rather 3 seconds left now in this hill. 3 points remaining for London. Here comes the 3-man charge out of the front side from Seattle. Is daring. Is how great it can be. Zed, Shawnee, all too familiar. OCTANE, he falls inside of the point, and that should be the game. It took us a little bit of a while to kind of drag ourselves over the finish line, but it was a Ravens dub in the end. And I mean, what's at this point, like, you know, if you are a team like the Surge, right, you obviously are up to that roster change. We're talking about, you know, little positives after that matchup versus the Atlanta FaZe. I mean, what really needs to be said in the comms right now after a major loss like that, second series with Decimate in the lineup?
Well, it's kind of difficult, man, because Hardpoint is that game mode that you continuously are practicing with your team. It's the one that you play all the time. Yeah. And when you come out and get destroyed by the team who's currently sitting in last place in the CDL, that's kind of frustrating, man. You're sitting there like, all right, guys, that wasn't our map. We weren't winning any single rotations. We were playing from the back foot the entire time. But we got to completely let that go. We got to make sure we're able to fight back in this series. And that next S&D, like I said, it's not really strong for London. They're currently sitting at 1-3 on Express S&D. And on the opposite side, Seattle Surge, who, like I said, make this roster change so they can come with some new developed strats on that map number 2.
Really, I know this scorecard isn't the prettiest, but really, what, 24-17 out of Paul, 25-16 there from Shawnee. So without a doubt, the ARs were frying. And the guy that we kind of talked about a lot for this team, Persini, obviously he goes -10. Really just not a great map overall. So you can't really point out one specific player and say, he's the problem for sure. That was the issue throughout that first game. But really a forgettable hardpoint, to put it lightly, for the Seattle Surge. As you talked about at times, Search and Destroy, it's kind of been their map. It's been one, or rather a game that they've really relied on. When we talk about that control, that's just, it makes it so awkward, right? Because when you are a team like the Surge, where you're struggling so prominently in one of those modes, and then you lose one of the opening 2, it kind of puts you in a bind. But hey, like we said, Seattle, how can they rebound? Can London go up 2-0? Is it time to bring it home? We're still got a lot to go, folks. Stay with us. Search Story Express up next.
The Call of Duty League is presented by T-Mobile, now America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. The Call of Duty League is presented by Zenni, the official eyewear for the CDL. Armor your eyes with Zenni Blocks blue light protection glasses by visiting zenni.com/gaming.
I just want to give a shout out to my mom. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be in this world and this earth, and always appreciate everything you've done for me. And also shout out to my wife, who's a mom now. She does and is doing an amazing job. So raising our daughter.
Oh, we absolutely love to see it. Again, happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Got a lot of awesome COD moms in the scene. I see Decimate's mom on the timeline quite a bit. It was a big story last season's study was Zed's mom getting on the timeline a decent amount for that Paris Legion team. Definitely a lot of eyes on this series. Everybody trying to get the job done. But then we got to talk about Search and Destroy, man. I mean, obviously, if you're both of these teams, primarily if you're the Surge, you're just trying to get out of what was that first game loss, but really the Search and Destroy has not been great for either of these teams, my friend.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the S&D struggles for the Ravens are currently sitting at 11th, and they would be 12th, but when they made that roster change for Paul X, I'm pretty sure they couldn't win a single Search and Destroy. When Paul X came in, they won 2 back-to-back, and that was just something that they've been able to try to build upon now, but obviously their S&D is still struggling. The opposite side, you have the Surge, who are currently sitting in 10th. It's not really good S&D gameplay from either one of these teams. Obviously, they both made multiple roster changes, at least on the side of the Ravens. This is the first time the Surge make that roster change, so there's a whole lot of strategies that need to still be developed on both sides of these teams.
Now, I wanted to quickly, kind of with Search Destroy in mind, I kind of wanted to get back to this conversation that we had, kind of coming into this series, which again is that Seattle control problem. Because again, when you do lose one of these first maps, now it kind of puts you in this situation of like, guys, we very well could be down, 1 and 2 coming into a game for a hard point just because you can't rely on that control. If you are a team like Seattle with this Search and Destroy up next, does it kind of give an added pressure to the team, you think, knowing that control 100%. Hasn't been great?
100%, because their control, like you said, it hasn't been great. They're basically starting off series down 0-1 once they hit that midpoint of the series. So they got to be able to take either map 1 or map 2 to stay alive and fight the distance and push these maps all the way to the very end. So this is a map they need to be able to take because, like you said, the confidence level for the Surge right now in that game mode is just not there. Being down 0-2, going into that, it's going to look real scary for them.
I know it's weird, right? Like, we're already talking about the control. We literally haven't even hopped into the Search and Destroy officially yet as we do begin our round number 1. But, it's just an interesting conversation to have just because you do lose that hard point if you're Surge. Again, there's like a 3-14 record, I think it is, in control. Just not so great. Again, it is a garrison, but hey, get the controls out of here. We're going to talk about Search and Destroy now here on Express. Just say, thankfully, what that times can be on Express, just a fast-paced rounds. This one a little bit slower off the start for London. Got a little bit of pressure going down, possibly over at B, maybe just a few line of sight type angles, but for the most part, Bomb's still sitting pretty steady over at that A point. Is Paul looking over his long-time squad mate in Zap, looking to clear things up, but it is Sam LaRue, aka OCTANE, getting those visuals early.
Yeah, and that's a good first blood right there out of Paul. And the only thing about this first round is that's why you see the Surge playing so back. There's going to be no trophy system, so their nades can definitely be useful. But unfortunately, the bomb is going to be planted. OCTANE's able to take down one person out of that top ticket booth. Now it turns into a 3v3.
Zed.
Seattle all trying to retake from their side, but look at number 8. Here comes Zed on the flank from the top bridge. He's going to cause some problems. Force all those players to turn around. Just like that, Paul X is going to hit some great shots on OCTANE. Now it's a 2v2 situation.
All left up to Decimate. He gets found out, and really, I think that round, kind of for me, study comes down to not just the early control that London get, but really that flank from Zed causes some problems. He instantly kind of makes everybody from the Surge turn a certain direction, kind of change up their spots, and really from there, London, they were able to hunt them down and close out what was a 2 versus 2, as it was Paul really gonna get in early in the feed, lining up with half of the kills throughout our first. Now we'll take a look through the eyes of Seattle on their opening offense. It appears to be the early hit at B.
And this is going to be a complete blind counter. The only thing is Ravens are trying to take control of middle map. Do they notice that a couple players are going to be in towards ticket booth? No. So Zapdos is able to take down one, but OCTANE with the trade Zaptius has gained that information. The bomb is going to be down, but Decimate, good pinch on the backside of that ticket to turn it into a 2v3. So if you're Seattle, you need to try to work this bomb plant. Do you have any awareness? Once that happens, Decimate is able to spot Zed. So eventually this bomb chat should be going down. They just have to try to locate the second player. They know where Zed is. But you still see Seattle players just trying to spread map. So no players are able to slip through. But it's looking at number 3, Decimate. He's going to be playing the rat bag, trying to set up a pinch onto Zed.
He doesn't see him. Dead. Escapes through the shrubbery, and that will take OCTANE down. Decimate at least is able to make good on it, but now a 1 versus 2. Paul's position is known, and he will get dropped inside of the ticket booth. So, what, man? Back-to-back offensive rounds. And that was kind of a big story coming into this, because I believe that Seattle are like 12th on defense. At least you'd like to imagine it would be, at least somewhere around that. London 11th in defensive rounds. So really both teams have struggled in kind of locking down what should be more a more consistent, you know, kind of position, I guess, when it comes down to the search and destroys.
Yeah.
Just kind of a number of different things to look out for in this S&D, but really teams clutching up when they should on defense. That one of the most notable.
Up and now, gonna hop into this round. London, they decide to be aggressive towards this B point. The only thing is they're not trying to rush towards this bomb plant. They want to make sure that they're eliminating any players out of ticket booth, but Decimate throwing those tacticals out of that side room. He's gonna give him his positioning. But now Surge, they have their hands full on how they want to try to retake this. The bomb is eventually gonna get planted. Zed is slowly gonna creep up to this bomb, but he's able to spot 2 players going in towards ticket booth. So they're just trying to take their time. Seattle, they just keep on giving them information, stalling this plant. In London, they don't know what to do yet. They're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, not common positioning on Express. Like, how often do you get to kind of just hang out for the B-bomb in a position like this one? The nice jump shot coming through from Pristini is at least able to even out the numbers for now. Is what has been a slow offensive push from London, just based off of not planting the bomb yet. Could start to hurt them, especially if this next kill can be granted for the Surge, as Pristini's position is known. The nice trade though from OCTANE. Meanwhile, it's Decimate on the flank. He's able to see both players. But he can't find the shots. He can't win the fight. And it's going to be London cleaning up the final 2. What looked like a very questionable position on the offense. They hesitate, but they still are able to secure it. And of course, it's Shawnee. Shawnee, mate, with the final 2 kills.
Yeah, it was once OCTANE got that kill to turn it into a 2v2. I'd have liked him to see him play his life a little bit better. Just stalled enough time for Decimate to eventually hit the flank and potentially get that 2-piece. But once it turns into a 2v1, he puts down some premature shots onto the first player, and then the double challenge comes in. London, they just capitalize on that. Even though they took their sweet time on never planting that bomb, they still win the offensive push.
We'll see if the offenses can only continue. Now it's Surge's turn. Another play over at A, but quick shots in from Zed. All's able to drop first down. Decimate just continuing. Gonna get dropped in some of these major opportunities, these big gunfights. A great job out of London to get him out for now. And he just slowly but surely crawled like a caterpillar through the trades. It takes some time, but could be granted a nice situation. Does he spot the head of Zed? Does Zed even know he's there? I think Pristini does now. Zed not too certain with him, but London just utilizing those numbers right now here in the D.
Yeah, they're just taking their time. And the positioning out of the Ravens players, this is going to be such a difficult plant to try to get on this A site. Trophies are down. With 30 seconds remaining, Seattle have to either make or break this push, and they're cutting right through the little map. This might catch London players completely off guard. They're going to be able to get this B plant down with no problem. So now the 3v4 for the Ravens. They have to try to retake this with Gunless. He's still being that island player at that A side by himself. He's going to be able to take down one, so that's going to force a couple players to turn around, but he's read the second one as well. Able to take down Zed, so now turned it into a 2v2 with Shawnee picking up that one. OCTANE able to spot out Zaptius. They know exactly where Shawnee is, left in the 2v1 situation. Versus OCTANE and Gunless, this is a pretty difficult task. 10 bullets left in the gun. Gunless making the play, throwing the shoulders, staying alive for his teammates in the Surge. In the 3v4 offensive push, they come out on top.
Yeah, man. And really, like I said, well-deserved. The best play of the round, and really just a nice shoulder given to Zed. Really, those 2 kills in particular, right? It's a 4 versus 3, as you called it, for the moment. Seattle make the bold call to try to go for the rotation. Well, I guess you could say not really a bold call, just kind of given that the way that the A site was locked down, but really they just make the right play, and then from there, Gunless, smart effort out of him. Because now we are tied at 2-2. Again, offense 4 for 4 so far. We'll see if London can make it a 5th straight. As everybody runs right to the line set of Prestini. OCTANE, it is a shooting gallery here as the round can't even keep up with how fast-paced this one is. Seattle 4 up and 4 down.
And that's where I was expecting you, Landon, to just go. OCTANE, the human turret. The guy did not miss any shots right here with that Krieg. Able to take down 3, barely getting bullets into himself. And able to close out the very first defensive round so far of the map. Is going to go in favor of the Surge. And with OCTANE picking up those 3, he's currently going to be sitting at a 5 spree, 2 away from picking up some score streaks.
Is that what I sound like? The human turret. Is that what I sound
Kill
like?
streaks. yeah, the human turret.
Human turret.
Like the Human Torch, but human turret.
I sound like Rich. I gotta change up my voice a little bit. Gotta change some things up. And I don't like the way this is going. Oh man, we gotta change some things up. It's just a cool name, like Human Turret. Like that's one of the best names. I tweeted out the other day. I said I want people to kind of give me nicknames, and no one really tweeted at me anything. No creativity. We need some nicknames here in the scene. We need. I guess what? Shawnee's a construction man. There's a lot of room for improvement. Let's put it that way.
Definitely, but now in this 4v4 retake, London have to try to get in with 30 seconds left, and the way that Surge is playing is they're not giving up anything free, but OCTANE unfortunately is going to overpeak that window, and he's going to get first blooded, but the time is still ticking. Ravens players have to get someone on towards the bomb site. Gunless is going to be low bricks, and his teammate's going to be there to help him. That's going to be 3 down for the Ravens, all left up to Zed in the 1v3. Able to spot both, but the Surge, once again, able to walk away with another offensive win, puts them up 4-2 on the map.
And I guess this is kind of probably the most, or rather maybe the situation that I take away the most from that round is just Gunless taking the early fights, and then just Prestini's right there, right? That's kind of what you want to see out of your SMG on Express, really just your SMG in general, right? Despite maybe not always being the player to jump out first. Somebody who's always there to greet you with the team shots. What is Decimate's camera doing right now? Did you see that? It looks like it maybe fell over on his desk. Is he all right? He's 4-3. I guess he's totally fine. It looks like his... Did you see that, Stud? His camera's just sitting right on the desk.
I did not see that. I did not see that. Decimate is a great player, though.
He's getting hype, you know? Maybe the camera just fell
over.
Find themselves up
4-2 on this map number 2. I like the way that London are playing their offensive round. It's looking like they're going to try to commit towards this A site again, but Surge, they're getting all that information. That no noise is going to be over towards this B site. But I expect number 1, which is going to be OCTANE, to just keep his positioning. And they're waiting for the call-outs to come in from Gunless. Forrest, we got a Gunless as well. He's trying to work towards some streaks, but London, they're just taking their time on this offensive push.
Phone's ringing. Who's going to pick it up first? It will be Gunless. The 5 spree. Now in for Big P. 6-2. And the nice shots from Prestini. The headshot on DePaul. As now it's a quick 2 versus 4. London in a world of pain. Zaptius does get greeted with some shots. He has to back up with 25 seconds left. They know exactly where this bomb is looking to go down. Zaptius getting met with a fistful of fury. Really, what can London do in this situation? Zed, unfortunately, not able to provide too much. There goes Zap, and it will be Seattle up 5 rounds to 2, and what is, I believe, their 4th round in a row. Perfectly in sync right now.
Yeah, Seattle, they're just taking their time. They're taking control of that B bomb site, and once they gain all that information, the way that London are playing the offensive rounds is that they're going really slow towards A, so they're not giving any information to Gunless as he's watching the players try to cross towards bomb. They're just taking their time, so Seattle know that eventually we have to rotate back, and their only commitment is going to be towards that opposite bomb site. They open up with the first blood, and eventually all the kills go in their favor, and they close out the round. So that's 2 defensive rounds for the Surge, 3 offensive. They find themselves up 5-2, 1 round away from closing this out. But early, Zed is going to be changing up his positioning, being aggressive towards Train, able to get the first blood.
You talk about it constantly, right? Your SMGs, or rather kind of your more fast-paced players, they can be the difference maker. I know we talked about Prestini and the keys, but Zed very well could just have that exact same kind of point brought up about him. Whenever he is lighting it up, causing problems, just even changing up his positioning, just being annoying, OCTANE will be able to deal with him. It can just make all the difference, but yeah, for the early attack over at A, it appears to be a rotation now over at B. Is Gunless not babysitting the bomb carrier yet? Maybe still hunting for that 6th kill in a row. Meanwhile, London ready for the attack. Ready for the opposition as Shawnee does get caught out. Meanwhile, will be a trade. Paul now left in a 1 versus 2. Gunless does, in fact, earn the artillery. Gonna go for the ping and just utilizing an information well. They go for the rotation. That bomb's gonna be planted any second.
Yeah, it's going to be a 2v1. Great rotation right there out of the search. It rotates towards that A site. Now, Paul X, he has to do double the trouble. This is a nice little sneaky angle I've never seen before. But, you know, people surprise us every day, even on maps that are 20 years old. But Paul X, 30 seconds remaining in this 2v1 situation. They should try to eliminate both. And the way that Gunless and Decimator are playing, they're just holding each other's pockets, playing for this trade. But he's able to find both. Just like that, the Surge are able to close it out in the Search and Destroy. 6-2 and tie the series up 1 apiece.
And we talk about it constantly, right? What a big map this one instantly was for the Surge, just kind of given how those controls went from time to time. But it's really Gunless who I think kind of steals the show in that Search and Destroy stat. Obviously earns the artillery, doesn't have to call it in necessarily, but the ping is able to help them secure that final round. Is really just kind of dominance being displayed from this Seattle team, and look, kind of the woes in Search and Destroy only continue for London as they are now 2-5 in stage 3. And I know that final Moscow has not treated them oh so kindly if we were to see a second Search and Destroy in this series study, but that's the perfect way to rebound if you are Seattle with what OCTANE and Gunless leading the way.
Yeah, perfect way to rebound, like you said, man. Tied 1-1, and you're going into your worst game mode. This is the best case scenario right now for the Surge. They're able to walk away with this control, then that'll be a miracle. But who knows, man? It's going to be a great battle in that map number 3. Surge right there, they just really capitalized on their offensive rounds. They won 4 offensive rounds on that map number 2. And that's really difficult to do on a map like Express because you know how they can take control of that B-bomb site. It can be a 4-out, just 4-hit all-out and just win a majority of those gunfights. But the way that Seattle were doing it, they were taking their sweet time on A and wrapping those bombs. That was one thing that they were doing excellent every single offensive push.
Hey, man, you're breaking down some excellent rounds. The one that we have to take a look at and try to remember the best we can, of course, is our U.S. Army tactical play. This one coming in round number 5, and really, I believe that this round kind of comes down to the early plays out of OCTANE. Again, the ARs, they were problematic, and they just lined up for the human turret. I call it the human turret study.
Yeah, and this is one of those rounds right here that London will never try again because they decided to completely blind counter the Surge right there. But when OCTANE's hitting shots like that, he's basically killing your play and killing your confidence to ever try to go towards that B-bomb site ever again. They get the job done there. Mr. Human Turret, like you said, getting the 3-piece is good for Mr. Sam LaRue. Tied 1-1 at the series.
Yeah, as we said, man, a big map for Seattle as they bring us now to a 1-1 scoreline. Again, still a lot on the line in this Group B as we prepare for that Stage 3 major. When we come back, it is Gary Control. Make sure stay with us.
Call of Duty League is brought to you by GameFuel. Use code CDL2021 for a special discount on GameFuel.com. Tournament audio and team listen-ins are powered by Astro Gaming, the official headset and mix amp of the Call of Duty League. The Call of Duty League is presented by Zenni, the official eyewear for the CDL. Armor your eyes with Zenni Blocks blue light protection glasses by visiting zenni.com/gaming.
Well, Seattle, they get the job done in a search to destroy, winning Express in a pretty dominant way, but we got to kind of change the focus, right? This is, in fact, Decimate's second series with the Seattle Surge. And I want to kind of talk about Decimate a little bit. I want to ask you in particular, with the Surge team, just kind of the way that they have played, really just so far throughout the entirety of the CDL, how do you think he is going to continue to fit with this team?
I think his impact on this team is going to be huge because obviously when they had Looney on his team, one thing that they were lacking in was just the slaying department. Looney was he was that player throughout the entire CDL who was dead last out of all the players in every single stage. So when they make that change, they want to pick up Decimate so he can pick up a lot more kills and help Pristini out with the playmaking, with some great search and destroy play, but also some great slaying when it comes to that control game mode. Decimate, you know, he was in the CDL last year under LAG, then he finds himself in challenges at the beginning of this year, and he's been dominating in the entire challenges. I mean, everybody calls this guy Homelander, and the guy's just on point. He's basically a superhero out there. So for the Surge, obviously, they had a tough matchup versus Atlanta FaZe, and it's not really the one you want to go up against when you have a new roster. But in this series right here, now that the series is tied 1-1, this is one that I expect Decimate to come out and really show his slaying ability on a map like Garrison Control.
I want to ask you too, and I guess maybe the question could be answered just based off a few of the listings that we have, maybe excluding the Game 1 hardpoint listing with Seattle, which obviously was not great. But, with Looney obviously being on the team, I mean, we just talked about his ability to be such a great veteran, especially in the comms, his ability to kind of be the play caller. What do you think that kind of is in Search and Destroy? Maybe even on Control from time to time. Who do you think is the guy that needs to step up, or is the person to step up, especially in the communication side of things?
I think communication, now that Looney is no longer here, when we went to previous listenings, it was always Looney and Gunless who basically stole the show. So now that Looney's not here, Gunless has to be that main voice, and we saw it in that Search and Destroy. I wonder who called out that rap back towards that B bomb site, and then for him to be that island player, he has to be feeling really confident and just step up in that leading role, because obviously the way that Pristini and Decimate play, he's not going to become the leader. He's brand new to the team. OCTANE, he's always just trying to focus on his gameplay. He can definitely be the leader, but you need the human turn to just be on point. So Gunless has to definitely lead the pack for these guys.
And I guess when we talk about, just the ability to kind of be that kind of big communicator, is London just off to a great start so far on this offense. You think that maybe kind of being at times the majority vocal leader, kind of the caller, maybe at times can maybe take a hit on your stats?
It definitely could take a hit, but in the comms, when your team is on point, everyone is communicating. When you are in a situation where you're in a hole and you need to bounce back, that's when you all need to listen to one voice. But when your team's on point, the communication should just be equally between every single player and just continue on forward.
Yeah, I'm just eager, right? I'm eager to see what this Search team can do. Again, that opening respawn, as we said multiple times, it's not one that you want to relive, as they have been able to maintain pretty well so far at this B point, but really once Gunless gets wiped off the map, he was the farthest pushed up player inside of middle. With that map positioning, that solo gunfight win is going to earn Zaptius that control point over at B, and I feel like the last few times we've got to watch Garrison Control as it's been played a little bit more as teams look to expand the map pool and whatnot. Offense just doesn't seem to be as difficult maybe as time has gone on. Do you think that has to do with maybe the patch change-ups with obviously the 8 point, or do you think that maybe it's just teams learning how to play it better?
No, it's definitely teams just learning how to play, because at the beginning of the game, people were flooding out of top green. That's definitely not the way you want to do it. But now you see multiple teams, like we saw yesterday, Atlanta FaZe versus the Surge. They were just consistently just hitting towards bricks, and this is one problem that the Surge were able, that they couldn't hold on, was that when they gave up this early B point and they had to focus on A, they were able to just let a couple kills just chain, a pinch comes in, and Surge were able to spawn all the way out. They just weren't able to get a good hold. And right now, you see the way that London, they're all trying to go around the backside, but 3 players are eventually going to drop. Shawnee's going to be coming through the front side. He's the only player here, but Surge, they're doing such a better job by holding this point by itself, because the way Atlanta just took 4 players to just push it out at once, 4 dead, and eventually the point was captured. But so far, Seattle Surge, they're definitely showing improvements.
OCTANE on the flank with an SMG. All right, no problem. No issue whatsoever. OCTANE 7-4 on the 3 spree, makes the big flank. And there is going to be a player just below Pristini right now, that being Zed. Tries to use the trigger discipline, but it's Decimate watching over his compadre. As with 54 seconds left, if you're London, you got to make a play soon. They are down quite a bit right now in that life count, 12-6. OCTANE still on the flank, does pull out that trusty Krig. Ends things up in a 5 spree, but without a doubt, his presence has been felt. As everybody on London now down to their final lives, 10-3. Shawnee will at least extend his life for now. And really just based off the lives, this one looks to be secured by the Surge. No points yet. The flanks continue to cause problems as now it's Pierce's turn.
Yeah, the last player has to just try to flood out to get towards that point. It's going to be Zed, but Seattle, they're going to do a great hold on that A point for at least 2 minutes on the clock, and that was the adjustment that they needed to make, because last time we saw these guys play Atlanta FaZe, they sent 2 players around the back, they had 2 players push around from the front, and eventually they got every single kill, and that's where the Surge, they continuously put themselves in a hole, but coming out on top in that defensive round is going to be great for the Surge, because we know how easy offense can be nowadays, because teams have really just adapted to how they need to play. Getting control of this early point at B, extending this time by a minute, and then just timing those kills together. Taking control of bricks is exactly what you want to do. And so far, the Surge, starting off 1-0, this is great because they've been on a 5-game loser spree in just control alone.
I was going to say for a moment, we were taking a look at that final play of the round, and I was getting ready to call it, Pristini with a nice flank. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was OCTANE. Yeah, OCTANE actually had the 74U out, believe it or not. Makes it work incredibly well as he'll find the first blood. Again, not a stat or really a point that we bring up constantly, but your opening breaks on control. Those first bloods are nearly just as valuable as the early onslaught happens toward A. London trying to deal with a lot of that pressure as OCTANE finally does get dealt with. Back to the respawn screen he goes, and for the time, London are able to wipe away every single bit of progress toward that A point. Nice start from Seattle, but the risky call over toward A is not able to come on through. Zaptius is continuing to be a problem through the middle side of the map. London just looking to kind of station themselves in tricky position.
Yeah, and I didn't really like that push from the Surge. Like, when they got out towards that A point, you had Decimate who just immediately tried to go straight in towards bricks. And he just got caught out by Shawnee, and then they weren't able to extend his time, and this is something that the Surge have been struggling with on their offensive rounds, just trying to figure out which point they want to go to and how aggressive to play. Right there, once they drop those players, they give, once again, map control to the Ravens. Now with 15 seconds left, you have no ticks. Keep that in mind, no segments captured, so if it does go to a round 5, London do have that advantage by just taking that B point nice and early. Okay? And also winning a lot of these engagements, so they're able to tie it up with another great defensive hold right there out of the Ravens. Now, the Surge, they need to try to bounce back and do the same thing they did on the very first round. The only thing is that London, their guns are a little scary, man. They capped that point nice and early at that B point, and it's all about just trying to set up for that 2-minute hold once again.
Look at the SMGs have been the problem so far on this Garrison, my friend. Just Paul X, I think he's just whipping his analog stick back and forth, just trying to dodge the bullets the best way he can. I'm not sure how effective that is, but clearly it's working out decently well. I thought that Shawnee was on the spree. I was getting ready to call out that I was interested to see how Shawnee plays kind of his next life, but the scorecard indicates that he did drop just before the round had ended. So he was sitting on 5, so that's a big kill that Seattle was able to find. As we discussed how important the streaks can be, especially from time to time, how neck and neck this control has been off the rip, but it's now London's opportunity to see exactly what they can do on the offense. Off the rep, they do issue majority of their forces at that B point. Dunlop's causing some problems toward top green, is able to distance them out for now, but here comes a major team fight win, and it's Zaptius who's able to drop 2.
Yeah, and they're trying to just keep the pressure on towards this B point. And you see the Estimate trying to push through low rails, able to take down Shawnee, but they have some early progression on towards A. Pristini's able to eliminate Zed there. And now Seattle are trying to gain for more map control, trying to push up, being more aggressive, and put London in that spawn trap. And with Decimate running around the middle of the map, picking up kills left and right. Fortunately, 2 players are going to drop. Gunless almost gets turned on right there from Shawnee. But Zed is there for the trade. Now it's all about just trying to take some more bridge control. But with everyone going down right now for the Ravens, Zed's life is the most important. Just stay alive. Just try to be a nuisance on the map. Try to set up your team to make a play. But with him shooting right there, he's going to give up his positioning. 48 seconds remaining on his clock. A first segment is completed on this B point. And London, they just need to try to extend this time because every kill right now is going in favor of the Surge.
It is indeed. Ringing the dinner bell. That's going to be 3. Nearly make it 4 in a row. Out of Seattle. Well, no, actually, yeah, you can make it more than 4 in a row. They're sitting on a 7 spree right now as a team. Or 6 spree as a team. Can I add? Nope. Apparently not. Octane drops toward P3. All we really need to know is that London are between a rock and a hard place. They've got to make a play, and Zed very well could be the man to do so. He drops 15 seconds on the clock, and if you're London, you just got to go. You got to get something brewing, as it appears the A point will be their target for the moment. Decimate wins the nice fight. They're on to Paul. Zed just trying to keep things afloat as the Cavalry looks to try to ride out of that green point, but it will be the Surge just continuing to win these influential fights. And now with 5 seconds left, London, do they make anything happen as they look to issue a few players toward vent? All drops from the front. Johnny and Zap left on the point. 1.5 seconds on the clock, but they are going to line up there for Prestini as Surge, another convincing round.
I just love the adjustments that Surge have made, man. We literally watched these guys lose this map to Atlanta FaZe yesterday, and they come in today and they make it a completely different game. Yeah. Like, these are 2 defensive wins where they have just been able to fight for that map control and not get trapped in a base, and that's just something, obviously, Atlanta FaZe is a completely different roster. They got a little more firepower on that side, but Seattle Surge is doing such a great job at winning a majority of those gunfights on the back of their ARs. Gunless and Octane currently having a great map, and this is something that we talk about in the first map, is where we saw Shawnee and we saw Paul X really take over. And right now, on the side of the Surge, those ARs are on point.
Yeah, unfortunately for the London side, right, Paul? Uncharacteristic, 12 and 21. ARs from one side, feasting. The others, the ones on the other side, just not having a great start. But all that can quickly be turned around. They can walk away with this round. Prestini tries to get aggressive over toward top green, as he will fall. So the early push out of Seattle, thwarted for the moment. This could be the round that snaps the 5-game losing streak. All of Seattle's wins, right, despite that control record, have all been on Garrison. 3 and 14. Well, they've got 3 dubs. Can they make it a 4th? Big round nonetheless, as Gunless trying to apply pressure from a multitude of different angles, as Decimate realizing he's in a nice angle, but really none of his teammates are there to join alongside of him.
I just love what Decimate's doing. Unfortunately, he's going to drop right there out of top green, but he opened up that B point for his teammates to eventually get some more map control. So now with 30 seconds remaining, they do have a 1 live advantage. That is going to hit the nade onto Prestini. Shawnee's able to get onto Gunless. And now you see Seattle. They have to try to fight for some more control. But the way that London are set up right now, they have control of top green. They have control of lights. They're forcing all of Seattle to try to get on towards this B point, but Seattle, they're going to be sending 3 towards top green. This guy has to play his life, but unfortunately, he's going to drop, so they're going to be able to take control and stop that clock by hopping onto that A point.
Gotta be so careful with it. Prestini looks to go ahead and give it up. Maybe they try to now push at the other side. It appears to be the case. Prestini, 1 focal point toward top green. He at least is able to find a kill. A quick little 1 versus 2 fight. 5 seconds left on the clock as Octane looks to try and hold it down for now. Can Seattle get off of spawn in time, as that time really just continues to be a factor, and they will not be able to hop on it, as London are able to go big and send us now to a round 5. Oh boy, we talked about for Surge. And they snap the streak, and they find their 4th win in control. Or will London just continue to walk away with the respawns?
They're going to have to figure it out, because London, I'm pretty sure, are going to end up on that defensive side. They captured more segments on their very first offensive push by completing that B point by themselves. So now Surge, they have to try to win an offense where they haven't been able to do so the entire map. So what initial break off are they going to try to go for here? Gonna have a couple players just pushing up to the middle of the map. See the way that Ravens are playing. They're taking their time, being a little safety net on towards that 8 point, making sure no one's aggressive towards there. But the way that Ravens have been playing their defensive rounds, they're consistently keeping control of top green. You have Zaptius and Zed who are just running around being nuisances, and Zaptius is able to take down Decimate with that first blood. Eventually trades are going to come in, Gunless going back and forth. That's going to be 3 down, but OCTANE is able to win that engagement out towards top green, so he's able to get onto this 8 point and stop that clock.
You saw instantly, right? Once that trade came in, once London did find Decimate trying to go early instead of bricks, just slowed everything down. But meanwhile, it was success happening at the other side. Pollax able to drop 2, so that at least will dilute what was a problem-type situation. A major triple coming through from Paul, and the only problem from OCTANE is he's the only player over at A, despite how long he's been alive for. He's had no teammate support. Despite how much time he was on A4, all of it quickly gets wiped away as a major play comes in from London. Paul continues to snap. Shuts down Prestini. OCTANE finally able to take him down off the heater. 35 seconds left. Surge, got to get some work done as Decimate from top green. Looking to give the calls, give that communication out. Just continuing to be a nuisance to the middle side of the map. It's been a great game so far. Added JT, 25 and 20. Seattle halfway there.
Yeah, but now that's going to be 2 dead, so Gunless and Decimate have their hands full. They have to try to go big. Decimate, he's going to be the only player far pushed up. But once again, the Ravens, they break through. They take map control. Now it's all about keeping the pressure on for the Surge while they try to rotate out of the spawn. With 15 seconds remaining, the Surge know the streak is eventually going to come in from Gunless. He's going to give all those comps to his teammates, but you need to win a majority of these gunfights. You cannot get first blooded, but a trade is going to come in onto Shawnee with that. That's going to be another 2-piece from Pollax on the flank, trying to go for the third, and with a minute left, Gunless has to get on point, but Pollax with the 3-piece to end out the game. London walk away with 3 defensive rounds to close out map number 3, and the Surge, once again, control just continues to put them in a hole, man. London find themselves up 2-1.
Oh my God, Paul, again! Such an issue with the SMG. Wins the big 1v1 fight there versus Gunless, and nobody is there for the trade. As you saw the quick little instant reaction out of Seattle, just frustrated, man. They're frustrated with that loss. I'm not sure if, Prestini's maybe giving a call out of like, we should have done this, or maybe I should have done something differently. Regardless, that record now 3-15. Back-to-back losses with Decimate in the lineup in the control. Granted, it was close. You cannot doubt that. It was close, but their 6th straight loss. They are just hunting for their first win. I was told this is a stat. They haven't won a control study since April 8th. It's April.
Oh man, that's before I even removed it. That's before I moved into my new place. That's a really long time, man.
Oh man, that is not solid. But man, Paul, he turns around. Well, he's like 12 and 21 at some point, ends out 22 and 28. Just a problem on the map. 4,700 damage. What Shawnee puts through 5K there for the dub. Oh man, stud. I mean, let's talk about that. Garrison, that was your best opportunity if you're Seattle, right? I know like Decimate's in the lineup, but that was your chance to go up 2-1. You've got that guaranteed Moscow search and destroy waiting for you at the end, but that very well may have just turned the series on its head.
Yeah, it really did, man, because when OCTANE made that play on towards that 8 point, if Pollax doesn't get that 3-piece on the opposite side of the map, Seattle probably are able to secure one of these points, and they are able to extend that time. But when that play happens, Pollax in that very last round, he was just making play after play after play, and Seattle just didn't have an answer for him.
Oh man, they do not have an answer. Can Seattle regain now coming into game 4? Is this where London get the job done? Or can the Surge force us to a game 5, as it will be hardpoint on Apocalypse? Both teams have yet to be defeated on APOC, but somebody is gonna end up having that record with a nice little L next to it once this game is up and underway, as we'll have it ready for you right after our break.
C5.
Let's go.
What's your type, little mama? Come up on a football. Promise you. Ride this thing packed like a llama. Wanna get cut up, tell her nana. Ay, yes, all on me. Ay, 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 ay. It's all on me.
Let's go.
Yes, all on me. It's your girl, but she all on me. What's up? Yes, all on me. That's your girl, but she all on me.
Let's go.
Welcome back, folks, to the final day of the Dallas home series. As you get to see the reactions to the closeout there on that Garrison control London. There's some happy campers on the Surge side. Not exactly the same, as again, that control just continues to be a problem for Seattle, as what the record now sitting at 3-15. Not great, obviously, if you are a Seattle fan. As now we take a look at our quick scope presented by Scuff. What study? We've got to see the hard points already as we kind of take a little bit of an outlook on where both of these teams sit. Despite the record, though, for Surge, I mean, they have a good performance at the control. They make some good plays, but just in general, it's a hard loss, without a doubt.
Yeah, it definitely is a hard loss, man. That entire round 5, Paul X just made play after play after play to just ruin every single push that Seattle was trying to get done. And now they find themselves down 2-1 in the series, going into an Apocalypse Hardpoint, where both of these teams are currently sitting at 3-0. But every time I think about Apocalypse Hardpoint for Seattle, I'm always looking at Brasini, because I remember that one game that he had 25-9. The guy was just walking around with a submachine gun, being a god. And on a map like this, where both teams are undefeated, you need to come out and you need to have that same level play to force it to that map number 5.
And when we take a look at the stats through that map number 1, I guess the slang doesn't really kind of tell the story, maybe outside of Shawnee, but it was just a dominant game from the very start. I think they go on like a 85-0 run, something crazy over on that Moscow. Very well, it could have been like a 250-60 game. But Surge, they were able to kind of bring it back a little bit toward the end, but overall, not a dub. Stud, can I give you a trivia question?
Yes,
okay, this is going to be a very difficult trivia question, but if you get this one exactly right, I'll give you $100 right now.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
guess what Pristini's hardpoint KD is on Apocalypse hardpoint. You get it exactly right, I'll give you $100 right now.
2.5.
1.54. Oh. Just off by it, kill.
That's close.
Good.
It's kind of close.
Hey, you know what? Maybe
the
we'll do
guy's
it again.
a god. The guy's a god on the map.
I'm sure everybody in the chat just probably just spammed it with numbers. Somebody probably got it. But moral of the story? Pristini's just dominant on Apocalypse. Dominant on Apocalypse. Really, both teams sitting quite pretty on this map. As we said, my friend, both teams 3-0, arguably one of the best Apocalypse hardpoint teams in the entire game, as now they'll duel it, test their wits, as that's an unfortunate way to start off this game. If you are London, as Zap frustratingly sit back to the respawn screen. Seattle with those preferred spawns, though, and really, that's the emphasis, considering we've got an early push now being made through Broken. But it's Zap and Paul, really after the team kill, they join hands and say, all right, time to do it together. They're trying to contest for the early time, and how about Zap, the quick little crossover? As that will guarantee them spawns for the moment, despite the time being granted for Surge inside of the hill. London is thinking long term.
Yeah. London is thinking long term, but the only thing is, OCTANE is ready to push through Broken. You're going to force 2 players from London to spawn all the way across the map. Especially they're able to find him. The second player is able to come up as well. In London, they do a great job off the rotation. Just set their teammates up. Make sure you play the correct trades and keep those spawns for this back tempo. So now they have a full setup for this P2. They can get back into this game. And if you're the Surge, you had those spawns right off the rip. But the Ravens, they make that play to push through Broken. Sad picks up 3 in the kill feed, so he's going to be on the 3 spree right now. Trying to locate the 4th, but unfortunately Decimate is going to find him. But him being that far pushed up is so great for his team to try to change this lead up. But as I say that, 2 players are going to push to the front side, and Seattle are in.
And you may be thinking, was that maybe like a little bit too aggressive of a push as a major 1v1, despite London having a few players off of spawn? That's really the overall difference maker and what earns them the remainder of the time now at Temple. Zap, by the way, has yet to die. Obviously, we saw that team kill early on, but that's really what is the only thing that stopped him. Taking some early shots. Can he get the streaks? I mean, what's the maybe in that position? You want to see Paul possibly jump in further just because you're sitting on 5 in a row. Regardless, major fights happening toward lights. It could be London here first. They've got the man count in their hands right now.
Yeah, London are going to be first team in towards this point to pick up some time, but you see what they're trying to do. Push out low trenches, trying to flip these spawns, but kills are going back and forth. Right now, the Surge are trying to break through low trenches, but Persini might be able to make this play. Unfortunately, a couple shots are not going to connect, and that's going to be 3 down. So now you're going to force all of Seattle to be spawning out towards back P5. So all this time is going in favor of the Ravens. And keep in mind, that P4 can be a full 60. You see number 2, he said, oh, there's no way I'm giving this one up. Got to make sure I'm winning this rotation, because right now London are on fire. That's going to be another 3 dead, and they should be able to get this remaining time.
Man, shots are flying. The fists are hitting. Everybody performing well from London. Not exactly the same way that we saw the Moscow line out, but still a solid lead early out of the Ravens. We'll see exactly what they can do now coming in toward this P4 as that slang continues to rain on. Now we'll go ahead and listen in with London Royal Ravens for our Astro Listen In.
I'm no trophy back. I can trophy from. What's your box? I remember box. I'm watching back box. He went to the back. I'm on shot. One's at the back. I'm going to spawn out. I'm spawning out. Wait, he's on P2 stage, be quick. Let's get hill. He's weak, I tagged him. Push him out quick, I've cut your P1, they cannot come from mid. They're gonna be lower. They can come behind me, set back box. They can go P5, that is it.
Got it down right, yeah, sure.
I'm going to top,
It could be on you front already.
Yeah. P1 that time. P1 down. Jump top and one shot again. I'm gonna go box.
I'm an alley.
One low, I'm pretty sure. Yes, nothing box. One hit low, I'm
pitching him.
Come back out, give me a second. I'm blocking.
I pushed out lower.
I'm blocking now.
Runs to mid.
He went mad. He's gonna go top TVs. Have your whole mid, just stack here when you spawn. Yeah. I'm shouldering low. Yeah, I'm trophying you. Absolutely nothing coming.
JT's up top TV.
I'm flashing that people, Sean. I flashed it. Have you made close?
Oh my god. One more top. I have one artillery.
I'll let you know if they're low. One hit low now, gunless, one shot, one more. Double aim.
I'm about to shriek. Go.
Come lay down, Alex.
I pinged it. There's 3 front.
Yeah. One to make for sure. We're double aiming low. Trophy low, stacking time.
Yeah, I'm having you.
Archie dead. He's one shot. Mission one. He's low 100%. Start pushing low. I'm rotating as well. You can be a post. You go.
Yeah, we Kelly. Copy 3. There's 2 there.
Yeah, it's 2. Take time. Don't peek it. One is low with a Krig. Yeah, can someone below me here?
I'm going left.
Wait, Paul, do you want to try and double hit left here?
Yeah, I can streak it. I'm gonna streak.
One shot.
Hold on,
he's in the window. I'm ignoring.
Well, it started off like it was going to be a totally different story from the Moscow, and now it seems that we're kind of in a similar position to where we were last hardpoint.
Yeah, it's just not good from the Surge. So far, this is 2 hardpoints where they're rotating early towards these new points, but as soon as that new hill is popping, they are all dropping and spawning all the way across the map, and that's what London has been able to capitalize on map number 1, and now they find themselves on map number 4 doing the same exact thing. Right there towards the end of that P3, when we first went into that listen-in, they were able to rotate towards that P4 and flip those spawns. So Surge is all spawning towards Broken. They get a full 60 on that. Then they keep the back spawns and force all of Surge to try to flood through the front for P5. And now you see right now the Ravens are early set up for this P1. They're trying to fight for those spawns, but they don't really need to at this point. You're about to break that 200-point mark. And the Surge, they have to just start playing perfect Call of Duty right now. The Surge, they're looking really bad in hardpoint, just simply off this rotation, man. Dying off rotation is really costing them, and right now, the Ravens are just capitalizing on it.
I mean, instead of just keep 3 straight, what's the issue with Surge right now? What's the primary culprit in the HPs? What's the thing that sticks out the most?
It's simple. It's every time, like, once they get to a new point, they're fighting 20 seconds. They're giving up this remaining junk time. So they're setting themselves up properly for the next point, but as they're doing that, they're losing the engagements as the Ravens players have decided to push through. Once they do that, once you're dying off the kill cam just like that, Ravens are able to break through. Now you're going to force, once again, the Surge to spawn all the way across the map, and now they have to try to break in with the Ravens having a full setup.
Well, 30 points left. Again, this is for seeding, by the way. So this is a big game. Yeah. Obviously, if London are able to take it, which I'm sure if you were a betting man, you very much like their chances. as Zed unfortunately will get dropped from the back, but really nonetheless, it will be Surge for the final 10 seconds, but it's seconds that you have to get, not just time that you want, but time that you have to allow in your favor. There's not many left for the Ravens, as that will be a nice early double. Again. Now coming in towards Stilts, this very well could be where the game comes to an end. Can Seattle look to try and contest this? They're pretty much just hanging in the back of the base. Pretty much hesitation for that early push, as now they've got a few numbers. Zaptius wins the fight toward the lower side. Zaptius continues to win the fight, says that's going to be 3. Prestini, the last man alive, and he gets dealt with as well as the Surge, now waving the white flag here in the hard point. 3 seconds left, and that is going to be a London victory.
And let me just tell you right now, my pickups are chalked. Just like that, man. The Ravens come out and just dominated both hard points, man, in this series. It's basically 100-point clubs on both sides, man. The Surge, they just didn't come to play in these game modes, man. They were just laid off the rotation, dying off the rotation, spawning all the way across the map. And every single time, even towards the very end, where Ravens were fully set up, you saw that Surge players early rotated towards this hard point to close it out at P3. But the Ravens players, Shawnee sitting in the top middle window, gets 2, and then you see his teammate get the 3rd, and it spawns all of, once again, Seattle to spawn all the way at Broken. It's just really difficult. The entire time on both hard points, they were just playing from the back foot, and London, they just kept on capitalizing, holding their setups properly, gaining a majority of those kills, and that was just a great hard point series for the Ravens right there. Like you said, they had 2 tough series back-to-back, but to win a series like that, confidence has got to be through the roof going into the main.
Oh, without a doubt. And as we said, with that victory, of course, we're talking about Group B. It's been a difficult group, right, overall for both of these teams, but with that dub, it will cement London in the 5th seed and Seattle in the 6th seed, as what hardpoints were kind of the story of this game, as you said. Paul, I mean, you just list off the stats, like 21-9 for Zap, 23-14 for Paul. Really, you don't take anything away from London's stats. It's really on the latter side for Seattle. Just issues, man, and I tell you what, like, this is the 3rd lowest hardpoint score that we've seen this season, so what, 3rd most dominant? The first hardpoint very well could have been the exact same. Like, again, it was Seattle kind of for the stretch. I think London were kind of playing for spawns, if my mind serves me right, on the Moscow. Like, both of these very well could have been hardpoint clubs. Both of these very well could have been, like, 80-point clubs, given the way this has gone. But, you know what, man, we talk about Seattle, their problems in the control. Now it just seems to be all the respawns.
Yeah, it was terrible because obviously the control, that was the closest respawn that we had throughout this entire series. Went all the way down to round 5, but both hardpoints is not something that I was expecting from the Surge. Like I said, they were continuously playing from the backfield, and this is where that situation where you talked about it, Lando, was like dropping Looney and bringing in Decimate, that leader role to get you out of these certain situations. They just kept putting themselves on the back foot, and there was no one that was able to step up, obviously, in the killing or the communication. No one that was a step ahead of the game, and that's why the scoreline looked the way it did, man. It was terrible from the Surge.
Definitely was. Like we said, a series that you don't want to remember too fondly, but now let's go and take a look at our Scuff play of the game. I mean, if they're coming from these hard points, there's a number of different clips that you can choose from, but I believe we are going to be taking a look at Paul. Really, he was problem in really the last 2 respawns that we saw. He kind of closed out that round 5 in that garrison control, and then carried in that slaying lead here into the Apocalypse.
Yeah, so this is the beginning, very first rotation of hardpoints. They were able to get that P3 and then rotate it over, spawn Seattle all the way at Broken to chain that P4. And you see how aggressive they are towards top TV. Paul X getting a tremendous 2-piece to pick up that artillery strike. And now they're just growing such a lead. It's just really difficult for the Surge to try to fight back, because even when they try to push low trenches, that artillery got pinged. He's going to give out the call out, so everybody's trying to push front. They set up the team shots, and they hold another great 60. And like I said, London throughout Stage 3, they've had some tough matchups. This is a tough group, but the fact that they were able to walk away with 2 wins in this group of play between these teams, man, you got to be feeling really good. Some tough matches throughout every single series, but confidence has got to be feeling good for the Ravens. Taking 2 wins, especially that one versus New York, still has me off guard. Good for them.
I was going to say, in those last few maps for London, those last few series actually looked pretty promising. The last 3 in general, about Game 5 losses, etc. Now they get the dub here versus the Surge, and then now for Seattle, the road to the major isn't looking too good. Maybe going on a quick little exit off the highway, as it is. It's not pretty, my friend. Just 5 straight losses. Overall, kind of throughout the stage, they escaped with 4 map victories. Not so solid, but like we said, it's really today is all about the standings, right? How does everything kind of get solidified? Obviously, we have a big game going down later between FaZe and Optic, but really this matchup was all about who's going to get at least somewhat of an advantage toward the elimination side. Be granted kind of a an earlier series. If we talk about things, obviously Surge could be starting in that elimination bracket round 1. London, they do get a nice little bye, but in general, my man, for Seattle, it is back to the drawing board. It is pretty much throw away everything and let's just start from scratch, I feel like, especially in those hard points.
Yeah, man, like just start from scratch in general when you talk about the respawns for these guys, because one thing that when we talked about is when they picked up Destiny, we expect those respawns to be better, to be able to slay with some of the top teams, and just right there, it was just every time they were just on the backfield. And look at this Astro Social soundboard, must win today versus FaZe. Got a great day of practice yesterday, just gotta execute. And Formal's right on the money, man. Right on the money. In the last 2 series for Optic, they've lost 2 hard points in every single series, and that's just not good when you're talking about this team. When you talk about the Optic, from top to bottom, they have 4 of the best players to ever play Call of Duty, and it's all about just putting it together. And hopefully today versus such an intense match versus Atlanta FaZe, where a lot of things are on the line, the pressure, backs against the wall, hopefully this is the Optic we all been waiting for throughout stage 3.
Yeah, man. Like I said, this has been a very heavily awaited series. Like we said, everything is kind of coming down to this final day, which is exactly what we love to see. Everybody desperately trying to fight for those top 3 seeds. As we said, this series is done. London, they get the victory. But hey, folks, there is still so many amazing games to come. As Formal Matthew Piper has said on Twitter, he's ready to practice, possibly is ready to go here versus the Atlanta FaZe. That will be our series coming up next. Make sure to stay with us, folks, as it is going to be a banger rest of the day. Fire coming in, but can Pristini win the 2? No. He does. That's 3 straight.
He's trying to get out there. He challenged and he wins it. First pick of progress on the way. Decimate 7 in a row. Looking to find a few more, but Gunless absolutely rips his way through the 3 of them. 249, 249.